This is Byron Gordon for the SES Conference Channel. It is day 2, and we are at SES Toronto on the exhibitor floor, and we are talking to Stacey of Microsoft. How are you, Stacey?
Good. How are you?
I'm fine, thanks. Stacey, you were on the Future of Search Orion panel discussion yesterday, and that was a pretty intense conversation there about the state of search, and I thought maybe you could highlight a little bit some of the key points you made, and maybe you could start off talking about pretty much the overall message. It seemed to be was that the state of search obviously is still not really where it should be.
No, and I think if we look back at search over the last 12 years, we really haven't seen it evolve a lot. So search in 1997 was very text-based and very one-dimensional, and if you look at how the needs of searchers and the amount of content have grown over the last 12 years, we've grown content by over 100,000% in 12 years. We've gone from text-based content to very multimedia content with images and video and audio that we're consistently looking for online. And search in its infancy still has evolved slightly, but really hasn't changed. And what we've actually been seeing is that user satisfaction hasn't evolved in the way that we're expecting to see it as well. You think about the cell phone, 12 years ago, and what it is now. Would you really be satisfied with that product, that big bulky product that you had 12 years ago, if it didn't evolve to meet our needs now? Not likely. And so, when we look at search now, we're thinking, you know what, there needs to be a better way to search out there, because we do know that users aren't satisfied. We do know that only 1 in 4 queries are actually satisfied, and people are finding that information on that first click, on that first query. We know that users are spending about 25% of all of their queries and their time online actually refining those queries. 25% of time is spent clicking back, so they're doing that quick click back once they get into that URL, and they're not finding that information that they need. And they're taking an extreme amount of time to find information as well. So over 50% of time spent online are on sessions that are over 30 minutes in length. So if you look at that in the context of everything that we're doing, do you really have 30, 40, 60, an hour and a half to do 3 queries in your day? Not likely. And if you think about even some of those very small queries that you're doing, only 9% of all queries take under 3 minutes to complete. Over 50% with 30 minutes or more. It's getting a little bit crazy out there. So we're looking at the experience and we're looking at user behavior to determine what can we better do to meet those needs of consumers and make it easier and faster for them to find information. And what we've been looking at is that there's a way to anticipate what search intent is going to be. And searchers are making decisions online. 66% of searchers are now telling us that they're using search to make decisions in key areas in their life. So some of that is health related. We go to the doctors, we find out something, they tell us some weird word, and we're like, ooh, we're going to go search it. So that's where they're spending time searching for that information, making product purchases, doing research online to make that product purchase, because we know Canadians are big researchers, not necessarily buyers online, but researchers, where they're going down the path of finding the product that they want, making the decision on the brand, finding the price that they want to pay for it, what store they're going to buy it from, and then get in the car and actually go there. And then, so there's ways that we can anticipate what those queries, what those secondary and tertiary queries are going to be, to cut down that time that people are spending online trying to find that information over and over again.
Now, we know Google dominates the search market, or dominates search, but they are not the only player and not the only game in town, and they're also still working to improve and refine themselves. So Canadians do use Google heavily, but Canadians are certainly open as any other people to other options. So maybe you could address other ways that search is trying to evolve itself, and perhaps it's not Google.
Well, and that's what you look at. You look at over 60% of Canadians right now use multiple search engines. So they're not exclusive to just one. So they're using different search engines for different pieces of their life and for different decisions that they're making. And so when we look at, we've just introduced, as of June 3rd, the new Bing experience from Microsoft. And Bing is looking at different ways of searching, different ways of categorizing that information to make searching easier for you. Bringing in new tools to hit those consumer pain points that we know of, where they're doing the quick click backs. So we've got a little hover preview that's built in, and we've got new quick tabs on the left-hand side that address, organization of content. And so, as we evolve the search product for the industry, and people start to trial it and are aware of this brand that's out there and are aware of how it can change their searching experience, consumers will shift their behavior to meet their needs.
We also heard, it was interesting on the panel from the gentleman of Share This, and I was curious if you had any opinion or take about how search might be focused more on sharing and that concept, and what your reaction was to that.
Well, one of the things, we do know that the consumers, 98% of all online users out there are using search right now. And so search is becoming that gateway to information online. So whether they're going online to find ways of sharing with people, search is really integrated with everything that's out there. It's integrated with Twitter, it's integrated with Facebook, and Twitter profiles are actually coming up on our search engine. We'll eventually evolve to include, different ways of searching through that Twitter content or those social contents within Bing, and we're working on an experience for that as well.
All right, thanks so much for chatting with us, Stacey.
Thank you.
And there's more to come from SES Toronto 2009 Day 2. Stay tuned.